In this video, we will cover how to establish a connection to your Amazon DynamoDB environment and how to both read and write data into DynamoDB easily. We can first create a new Amazon DynamoDB connection manager by right-clicking in the Connection Managers window and selecting New Connection. From the list, we can select DynamoDB to add our new connection into the package. The first page, Server, would have the region and credential details needed to set up the connection. The Connection Manager supports working with a local installation where you would be able to set your service URL, or from the AWS region dropdown, a region can be selected. The service URL will be automatically set based on the endpoint of the region provided. Under the Credentials section, we can provide the access key and secret key, both of which can be found when you sign into IAM Console Security Credentials tab, and additionally, the Use Temporary token can be enabled and a session token provided. The next page, Advanced Settings, we can provide some additional connection settings to the service. The default values can be changed for all these options. The connection timeout, the number of seconds to wait when establishing a connection before the attempt times out. Read-write timeout is the number of seconds to wait for a read or write operation to complete before timing out. Max error retry count, the number of times the component at the service client level can retry the current operation before throwing an error. Lastly, for the API throttling rate, you can limit the number of requests per second sent to the service. This can help prevent throttling-related errors. The next page, Proxy Settings, allows us to enter proxy settings. The proxy server settings by default are set to No Proxy. If you have a system configured proxy, you may select Auto Detect to automatically find this. The third option, Manual, lets you manually enter the proxy server address, port, as well as username and password as required, if the proxy authentication required has been enabled. When we have configured our connection manager, the Test Connection button can be used to see if a successful connection has been made to the service. Pressing OK saves our current configuration and closes the Connection Manager window. In our data flow, the DynamoDB source component is used when we want to read and retrieve data from DynamoDB. The source component can be found within the SSIS toolbox, and we can drag and drop or double-click to add it to the data flow. The component's general configurations can be set on the initial page. The Connection Manager dropdown allows the selection of an existing DynamoDB connection or the creation of a new one. Based on the Connection Manager, a list of available tables is populated, and we can select the one we want to work with. The Global Secondary Index option will retrieve a list of items from your Global Secondary Index if available, and a selection can be made. Output as JSON can be toggled if you want the row combined into a single JSON-formatted column rather than as separate columns. The Filtering by Key Fields section lists all partition and sort key fields based on the table selection. Filtering conditions can be set so only records that fit the filter are included. In our example, we want to filter with an account ID as well as the account name in either QA2 or QA3. Available to all pages, the Refresh button can be used to refresh the component's metadata. This is helpful if there are changes to the metadata in DynamoDB that have not been applied in the component. The FX icon allows you to parameterize from the available list of properties the component supports. This way, the property can be dynamically set with an expression. The Generate Documentation icon can create a Word document that describes the component's columns and mappings. If we move on to the Columns page, we can see the available columns for the selected table. A column can be unselected to exclude it from the integration. Hide Selected Fields will hide all currently checked fields, and Hide Unselected will only show the excluded fields. By entering a string into the filter box, you may quickly search to find a column. All columns can be selected or unselected using the option at the top left of the grid. A new column can be manually added using the plus icon. Selecting a column will display its column properties on the right side, and these properties, such as the name or data type, can be changed. Just as we created a column, any column can be removed using the minus icon. By default, rows to scan to detect fields will scan 100 rows of data, and this may be changed to scan a smaller or larger number of rows. Fields will be detected and included as columns based on the records that were scanned. You may refresh the component's metadata to reflect the current columns available if there were any changes or columns deleted. Lastly, you may export the current column's metadata into a JSON file, or import a JSON file to populate the columns within the page from an existing file. Once we are happy with our configuration, we can press OK to save and close. To write to our DynamoDB instance, we can work with our DynamoDB destination component. We have included an example data source, so we can now drag and drop our component and connect. The component's general configurations can be set on the initial page. The Connection Manager dropdown allows the selection of an existing DynamoDB connection or the creation of a new one. The table may be selected from the available options. Next, the Action dropdown can be selected. Every action apart from Insert works with an existing record, so a matching key or keys will need to be mapped in the columns page. The Upsert action can be especially helpful if you are working with a mix of existing records being updated as well as new records that need to be written. It would first check to see if the record exists based on the matching keys to update, and if not, a new record would be created. The batch size would determine how many records are included in each call to DynamoDB. Performance can be improved with a larger value, but the type of data you are sending would need to be considered. If the metadata has changed for your table, you may refresh the component to retrieve those latest columns. Available to all pages, the Reset Columns option will replace your current columns with the ones detected from upstream, and as a result, may remove the existing mappings. The Map Unmapped Fields and Clear All Mappings can manipulate the columns page mappings by mapping any columns that match based on name or clear all mapped columns. The FX icon allows you to parameterize from the available list of properties the component supports. This way, the property can be dynamically set with an expression. The Generate Documentation icon can create a Word document that describes the component's metadata, such as the columns and mapping. As we move to the columns page here, we can see the available columns and their properties. Hide Mapped will hide all currently mapped columns, while Hide Unmapped will only show the mapped columns. Alternatively, by entering a string into the filter box, you may quickly search to find one or more columns with matching name. Any column can be manually mapped with the Input Column dropdown. If we see, to the left, the column has a key icon, this would mean it's a required key field for that table. By default, the number of rows to scan for field detection is set to 100. This may be adjusted if you need to scan more rows from the table and populate more columns. On the right side, a new column can be manually added or an existing column deleted. For each column, when selected, we can see its properties and adjust them as required, such as the DynamoDB type or the SSIS data type. You may export the current column's configuration into a JSON file, or import the metadata from an existing JSON file. If we move to the last page, Error Handling, this is helpful to specify how errors should be handled when they occur. By default, this will be set to fail the execution when an error occurs. Ignore errors can be set to skip the error and continue the operation, generally not recommended. The other option, Redirect Rows to Error Output, can be selected to redirect just the rows that have received an error, and have them flow into a new error output path for inspection and further processing or logging. There are some additional error columns made available. We can show this after we save our component's configuration. The first path we connect is the default path, where successfully written rows flow through. If we double-click on the path and go to the Metadata tab, we can see the same as our columns page. Same for the error output path. If we connect this, we would be able to see the rows that have failed here. There are 3 additional columns: error code, error column, and error message available for us to work with. We hope this video has been helpful in your understanding of working with our DynamoDB connection manager, source and destination components. Give this a try in your integrations. KingswaySoft, data integration made easy.